We are dealing with a family crisis right now in the black community. Black women are more employed, more educated than black men. Black men find themselves underemployed, out of work, and uneducated. Many households are single parent, female led. There's no black men around right now to raise the young boys or young girls. So there are confused ideas about manhood and womanhood because they don't get to see how both sexes operate together in a household or nuclear family. So we have a lot of issues that we're dealing with. And I'm just trying to point out one thing, that we're studied. The same people who oppressed and enslaved us in this country study us. In the Patrick Moynihan report, he points out how the matriarchy of our community is part of the reason why we struggle the way that we do. This is not to blame black women at all. It's just to state simple facts. One of the facts is that her employment and the black male's underemployment is not by accident. There are things that are done to intentionally wear away at the will of black men, and whether people want to admit it or not, they exist. Patrick Moynihan's report shows, or at least explains this in great detail. If people take the time to read and understand that it is not just a way to scapegoat the white supremacist or systemic racist system of America for black men, so that black men have an excuse for not having attained any success or a relevant success that will help move his family forward. It's to point out how the system is designed to keep black men and women apart so that they can keep the status quo alive and well. And the status quo is that you belong in a place, and because of your skin, it's a caste. And your caste is the permanent underclass, while theirs is always going to be on top. And it will remain that way as long as we do nothing to try to change it. And because so many people want to close their ears to the facts, I decided to present you with a few. So take a listen. Also, you got to read. Read. Take the time to read the document that I'm about to show you. Take the time to read it and then listen to the sister who speaks afterward.
Different tribes. These are different people that's embedded in us, but we don't know how to express it because we don't have the history. They beat our history out of us. And so now the things we do, we think it's our choice. We have tried to normalize our captivity and act like that we're not living in a hostile environment and that integration solved all our problems. And so therefore, everything we do now is by choice, but it isn't. And I do have a book called Are You Still a Slave? It's a test book. It lets you take a test, a couple of tests, and find out how much of a slave are you still acting like, even without a slave master. the reasons I wrote the book is because you all have been so naive about our behavior and motivations and our expressions and the double meanings of some of the things we do. You all have just been in the blind for many, many years. I wanted to level that playing field because we have studied you all intently. We know what to say to make you happy. We know what to say to make you insanely mad. We know more about you than you know about us. We not only know more about you, we've told everybody else about you. The black woman is the only woman in America who goes out publicly and talks about her man. We don't know what the Chinese man do. We don't know what he does, how he act in the house, how he deal with it. We don't know that. We don't know what the Arabs do. It's a lot of people here. We don't know what those men do. The Latinos. So we don't know what they do. But everybody know what y'all do because we told them. And it has made you more vulnerable to a lot of other criticism from other people. Because the only way they know about you is through us. Because you all not telling them. We tell them. And I wanted, as you asked about the book, I wanted to level that playing field and let you all know more of what's going on. Now, some of it has backfired. You know, the book did produce Kevin Samuels, you know, my boy, and he's my spiritual son, I call him. And, you know, he came out and took it a step further. I tried to, what I consider was gently tell people about our situation and to stop us from controlling you all with not only insults, but with sex. You know, there have been a lot of things we have been able to manipulate our men with just based on those things. Plus, we convince you to tell us your secrets. And then the first time we get mad, then we go and tell them. We'll tell the police. We'll tell your mama. You know, we'll tell your children. We'll tell anybody. And so I'm trying to get us to stop practicing that, to pull that back. And if we speak a good word for our men, that if we defend you publicly, like they defend their men, if the white woman have a husband and he go out and he kill 10 people, when they go to court, she holding his arm and they go in there together and she sit there with him and then they go home and the children are there and they do everything. When you all tend to do different things, we not only abandon you, then we tell everything else bad that we know about you. And that's not the way to build a nation. It's not the way to repair the man that the white man has destroyed.
Think about how intelligent that is. Think about how intelligent it is for our enemies to turn our own women against us, to turn black men and women against each other. Meanwhile, today we see our children running the streets acting crazy. And no one wants to point the finger at themselves. And no matter how much we try to emphasize to those gatekeepers that I spoke on before in the schools who just keep the same program going on in order to get those big 6-figure checks, as long as we keep having those type of people in charge, we're doomed. We're doomed. We need a development of a movement from the grassroots level, from people who are genuinely concerned about the future and the trajectory that our community is on, so that we change it for the better, so that future generations that follow us do not have to endure the same things that we've endured and continue to endure today, all because we choose not to believe. The discouraging facts, the things that discourage the black man because he's unable to find work, he's unable to provide for his family. What happens when the black man comes home and he has no check to feed the children? What happens if the black man comes home and he has a bitter disposition because he's been unable to make money? Or what happens when the black man is forced to stay home and the wife is going out making money? He feels less than a man. So in today's world, the black woman will make him feel less than a man too. The system has been designed to not hire him. And by not hiring him and hiring you, it makes him feel less than a man. And then by men coming home and not being able to provide for their families, kicks them out of the home. You have 2 eyes for looking and 1 for seeing. Act accordingly.